looking for someone that's willing to learn how to do the job and ask the questions and actually cares.
I'm glad you said that, because here's the thing, even with me being a business owner, if I felt that you wasn't properly trained or that I need to explain it, I start explaining it right off the bat. Right? Here's the problem. When I've already explained it that time, you never took a note, you never did any of that. Now we come back to it. Now my expectations may not be the same. Because here's the thing, and everybody here is different. Everybody here has a learning style that's way different than each other's, right? So I get that. But I just don't know about, unless you cannot write, and sometimes it's that case. But we work on that. That's still communication. But you talk real fast, Don, or that wasn't very clear. Okay, I get it. And I don't mind sitting down with you, clarifying what we're talking about, whatever. But when you take no notes, how do I know that? How do I know these things? I mean, I figure you know what's going on. But I think a lot of times people don't want to do it, and that's why I said I brought up the scenario last week about a lady, or a couple weeks ago, about a lady. I had an interview with her, and she said she could work on computers. She had good computer skills. She didn't know how to work on a computer. She didn't know how to work it. And to the point where I didn't say it become a problem because she learned, right? But it could have been a lot smoother if she just said she didn't. But I guess she didn't want to say that because but I was just telling her what the job entails. So it was a job description of what it was. Well, she couldn't meet it. And poor lady was writing down a boatload of answers off the internet because didn't know how to copy and paste. I had to show her one day, hey, listen, you don't have to keep writing this stuff down. Just do this. Hit this button, copy that down and put it on another place. Still in that day, didn't really, she was cool, don't get me wrong, but acting like she didn't receive it, but she must have because she did it later on. And that's what I said, ask questions, communicate. Right. That's the big key. Don't go around struggling when you don't have to.
Exactly.
A lot of people do.
Your employer would much rather you take a little longer and ask a few more questions and do it the right way than to rush through and really foul everything up.
Right. And that's the thing. And I do.
People can be hurt. If you're working a dangerous job or anything like that, man, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know how to do it.
Right.
Ask questions if you don't know, because I've worked in some dangerous situations.
Yeah, you're right. And that's, to me, that goes hand in hand with a lot of things we speak about as well. It definitely goes hand in hand. But know what you're doing by being prepared.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm asking you, to be prepared in this interview, right? Try to be prepared as much as you can be.
Yeah.
Remember, being precise and short. Precise and short with things that, we can answer. Being professional.
Yeah.
Being professional and making sure we understand, the questions they ask, and then remember, hitting and knocking out that first impression. Knocking that out, because that's a big thing. Handshakes we go over. How to handshake, those things as well.
Reliable transportation is a big one.
I
don't want to have to worry about how I'm going to get you to work when your shift starts. A common mistake, and you might be surprised, a common mistake a lot of young people made interviewing for entry level, manual labor jobs was showing up with a parent to the interview. You're entering into the adult workforce. You need to show up to the interview as an adult.
100%.
That's a good point.
100%.
That happened quite a bit.
Right. Another thing about interview, another topic, social media and employment. We've talked about this before. Employers are checking your social media. They just are.
They have access to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That goes in right before right when that name goes across, when you might be a good candidate, they're gonna search that name up and see what they find.
It was a gentleman who, when we were doing transportation, and it was a gentleman who recommended someone to work. And I said, okay, and let's give them my number. They do. Somehow, when they called, on their tag, let's smoke something on it. So I'm like, what is this? It looked funny because I didn't, instead of somebody's name, that's what came up. Like, and so I thought it was a joke, but I answered it. It was that person. So, we spoke a little bit. We didn't end up doing an interview. We wasn't gonna do it on phone anyway, but we didn't end up even setting one up. And I called him back. Now, the weird part about this was it was a younger male who told me about, the person was gonna call. I mean, they were just trying to, say that, I had a transportation with whatever. Well, I said, you might want to tell them to switch that. He was so embarrassed. And he was young. So it was, so he even knew, man, you don't have that stuff on there, I think he might have even been kin to her or something like that. I don't know, but he was like, what was on there? I said, yeah, it was on there. That was on there.
And whether I like it or don't, social media, almost everybody participates, and especially in an office setting, a lot of times a manager asks themselves, do I want to spend 8 hours a day with this person every day, Monday through Friday or not?
Right. Yeah.
And so they are definitely going to go to social media for that,
100%.
too, so again, that's
100%.
part of your
I'm glad you
presentation,
said that. 100%.
whether we like it or not.
And it is, and they're looking at the professional presence online. They're looking at it. They're looking at it and seeing what kind of post. I mean, because you got to think, like you said before, the interview is one thing, but what about working here? I mean, what about working? What if we didn't like people who wore pink shirts? I mean, what would we do then? I mean, what would we do? He wore it today. That's cool. Don't keep wearing that. I'm just saying different things like that. So, and people are picky. I always tell people, and Mike has heard me say this. We try to be objective as employees or employer. Try to be objective instead of subjective. Because when you're subjective, that's bringing a lot of that in there. I don't like this. I don't like that. But to me, I always think about what if it's all different walks of life in the world. Right. So basically what we're going to do, let's have work on our mind. If we can have that in common, we got a lot of good things in common. Then, right, if we can have that work in common, I get it. But then we get into, the social media, like I said before. And this is beyond, well, I can do what I want to do. You can, if you feel that way, but you may not be hired.
Right.
When I worked at a certain organization, that's the first thing they did. Somebody turned in their application, Facebook. First thing they did went on Facebook. Oh, look at here. They smoke, just right now, just different things like that, drinking, different things like that. I'm like, you probably want to take that down. Yeah. But we're in a day and age now, everybody wants, sometimes, not everybody, I should say that, don't forgive me. But a lot of people want to show what they're doing, and that's just something that, like I said before, that can't be, because they will hurt your opportunities, very much so.
I will add in there, never, just like in a public place with the internet, never expect privacy. Okay, expect it to be there forever also, and that would change what you might put up there. Ask yourself. I tell this one to the young ones: would you want your grandmama to see it? Ask yourself that beforehand, But also, just be mindful of what you're doing on there, because you never know. People like playing video games. People like playing online games or chat rooms and things like that. You never know what other people are doing from the other side. I had an example of this one directly where I was sitting there. I scroll myself sometimes when I'm bored. I like to sit there and watch funny videos. And I'm sitting there scrolling. And I see a video of one of the young individuals we interact with where they didn't know they were getting recorded in the video by some content creator. They did some wild stuff in the video. And I was like, I seen them the following day because it was when we had a bunch of classes going on. I said, I seen you in the video. You was wilding out. I was like, what? I don't post no wild things to social media. What are you talking about? I had saved the video and showed him so he could see my own example of saying, be mindful of what you do.
Right.
Because it was like Omega or Monkey, I think they call it, or something like that, where you can just video chat random people from around the world. He was getting recorded on there, didn't know. So be mindful of what you do at all times, because you never know where you're
right. It already happened, right?
Yeah.
and just ask this question, we move on. If an employer looked at your social media history, right, today, would it help you get hired or would it hurt your chances? Now you can take it the way you want to take it. I mean, you really, I can do what I want to, then do it. You just probably won't get a job. You probably, when you're looking at these things, why I'm running into, certain things, certain walls that we can't, a lot of times is that. It's not the fact, think about it. I mean, these are a lot of things you have to change. They talked about that as well. When we first talked about that, they talked about growth as well.
Mm-hmm.
How are we growing? Oh, they just doing that because of my record. No, it's not that. But look now. You still posting the, getting into it with people and stuff like that too. That matters. That matters. Try to eliminate the red flags. I mean, try to eliminate. And what are these red flags? Once again, let's go over that a little bit. Arriving late. That's a red flag to someone, right? And you know what though? I'll say this. Let's say, Nick had an interview today, right? At 2:00, right? Now I know my 2:00 is busy. It's 2 something now, right? Okay, well, if that's the case, I know I'm late anyway, because I'm in here, right, doing this. But Nick's out there waiting on me. But if he was late, right, somebody would say, hey, Mr. White will be late, he'll be here about 2:30. Guess what? If it's me, I'll be out here about that time. He'll be out. You know what I mean? So he could at least call, even if you are going to be late. Yeah. Instead of just showing up. Inappropriate dress can get you all the time. Now, if you